How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your December 2018 forecast for Virgo. So, before I get into this, I've been saying this on all my other videos. I just gotta make sure I say it on all my videos, so I gotta say it on all 12 videos, so I'm sure you're probably annoyed of this, just like I am right now. But, I haven't been clear about this in my other horoscopes, but I definitely suggest watching these from both your ascendant and your rising sign, or your ascendant, your ascendant and your sun sign. I actually write these from the ascendant, so whatever sign I'm talking about, I throw that at the ascendant, and that kind of helps me, you know, tell you what's going on, basically. So definitely watch them from your rising sign, but your ascendant sign is probably going to be a little bit more accurate, so definitely watch it from there. Anyway, Virgo, this month's going to be pretty wild for you guys. Definitely not as wild as like a lot of the other signs, to be honest. But there is going to be a lot of foundational things happening, as well as kind of like changes in your behavior and how you really kind of utilize yourself. And I think it all kind of comes down to how you're going to really change your relationships with people and how to really work with those, as well as getting more serious around restructuring and kind of living out the things that you want to do. So let's pretty much get into it. There are 3 big days in December that you should definitely write down or just remember, or I should say the biggest transits that are happening are all on 3 days. The first day is going to be December 1st, the second day is going to be December 7th, and then on the third day will be December 22nd. So those are the 3 big days, so let's go ahead and start getting into them. On December 1st, the first big day, we have Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio. So Mercury's been in your 4th house, retrograde, in Sag, so, you know, kind of what you're centering yourself on right now, kind of, you know, where you want to put yourself into, I guess, because the 4th house is about not only your family and your parents, but your home life, your private life, where you do center yourself. Mercury retrograding right there is kind of like, you know, rethinking about that, kind of reshifting your idea of where you want to place yourself and really where you're centering yourself, especially with Jupiter being there, you know, about your beliefs and about, you know, really what is the big picture of things. As Mercury goes back into Scorpio, where he will still be retrograde, I think this is going to be more clear and more precise about what is your next move and what step are you going to take next. Because as Mercury goes back into Scorpio, where we are talking about more scope, more depth, more like precision in the sense of more of the raw and the real things. It's more of a emotionally raw rather than like a realistically raw, like how Capricorn would be. So as Mercury goes back into Scorpio, I think you're going to have a very much of intense like mindset shift of like, okay, now that I've rethought about this, now I really know where I want to be putting my mental energy. Now I really know where I want to be putting my energy and how to really speak that out and how to really, you know, like a good way to put it, I guess, is as Mercury goes back into your 3rd house is kind of like expressing that, thinking about it more, dialing in that mindset and really kind of reshifting how you really utilize yourself. So that's going to be a big thing, but Mercury still needs to go direct and go back into Sag, so we'll still talk about that a little bit more later. However, also on December 1st, we have Mars and the Sun squaring. So the Sun's going to be at 9 degrees Sag, Mars is going to be at 9 degrees Pisces. And this is a continuation of the story of the Mars and the Mars retrograde as it opposed the Sun. This is the last, like the closing square that he's going to make before he conjuncts the Sun. And as the Sun's in the 4th house in Sag, where you're just the part of your life that's kind of like more in the light of the Sun is, you know, your family, your home life, you know, what you're kind of centering yourself in, especially in terms of beliefs and where you want to go, bigger picture stuff. Mars in Pisces is kind of like changing the way that you really work in relationships. Mars is all about severing and cutting and action and moving forward. And as he's in Pisces, this is kind of about taking one step at a time, not knowing what your next step is and kind of playing it out intuitively, kind of seeing, you know, seeing all the sides of it before you make a decision. And as the Sun squares Mars thing happens, I think there's going to be a lot of tension with if you want to center yourself in this new way and have more of these higher beliefs about yourself and more of a bigger world, it is going to take you having to address certain problems in relationships and how people address you and how you address other people in order to really make those changes and to center yourself on those bigger beliefs that you're really working towards. So as Mars does go through Pisces in the 7th house, it is going to deal with some frustration, and you're not really going to know how to really act, but it really is just about taking that change that you want in your life and actually enacting that in the context of relationships in your life, communicating things differently, acting differently, being more in alignment with your actions that represent the beliefs that you are wanting to obtain right now. So that's going to be a pretty big deal. However, also on that day, Venus is going to oppose Uranus at 29 Libra and 29 Aries. So as Venus is, now direct, she's strong in Libra, she's, wanting to bring more value into your life, more money, more material things. You probably, gotten something nice for yourself, or maybe you got a pay raise, something like that, your money's looking fine. Uranus dipped back into your 8th house, where the 8th house is kind of about, the 8th house is a lot of things. It's a very dark place, very scary, it deals with change and transformation and death and, rebirth, all of that crazy stuff. And as Uranus goes back into there, where Uranus is kind of making this more of like a bing bam boom type of deal, like in your face all of a sudden, kind of wild and loud. As Venus opposes Uranus, I think this is going to come down to, okay, what changes have you gone through? How well can you roll with the punches, and how can you capitalize on those? As Venus is in Libra in your 2nd house, that's pretty good for money and things starting to really come in favor for you. But with Uranus and Aries in your 8th house, there could be unexpected changes. There could be unexpected ups and downs. I think the biggest thing for you guys, though, is to really focus on, of course, owning, possessing that value, bringing that out inside of yourself, and also looking at different ways you can really work that and integrate that into your life and into the relationships that you have. So I think that is kind of like going to be a weirder thing, the Venus-Uranus opposition for you guys, so I wouldn't worry about it too much, because I also think the Mars-Sun square is going to be more of a bigger deal for you. So then after that, on December 2nd, we have Venus going back into Scorpio. So, Venus went to Scorpio, got scared, went back. She went direct in Libra. She's strong. She's ready to go. She's got the value. She's got everything she needs. She went shopping. Now that Venus is going back into Scorpio, this is going back into your 3rd house. This is becoming more clear about utilizing the value that you possess in yourself, but you can't be scared to actually utilize it. You can't overthink it anymore. You can't just, be stuck in your head all day. This is really about, even though you may not exactly know how to go about it in the best way, being certain and being clear on the motivation and the reason why. What is your why as to why you're going about this change and the change that you want to make? What is your why? Hold on to that, believe in that, and go through it. As Venus goes back into Scorpio in your 3rd house, you're going to go, okay, this is what I know I have. This is what I know I possess inside of me. How do I utilize it? How do I really take advantage of it? And how do I really get all of my money's worth out of this? And as Venus is in Scorpio, she is in detriment. It's going to be difficult, but it really is about you guys holding on to your why, holding on to that image, because it's not going to work out perfectly. It's going to, involve change. It's going to be chaotic a little bit. But the idea of Venus going back into Scorpio after she went direct in Libra is not being afraid and being willing to move forward and holding on to that certain image and not being scared and being direct about the way that you utilize yourself in the best way possible. Putting that Venusian energy out there in a very raw and real and Scorpio way. So then, after Venus goes back into Scorpio, a few days later, we kind of get a break from anything big really happening. But then we go to the second big day. Hold on, I need to drink of water real quick. So we go to the second big day, December 7th. We have Mars hitting Neptune, conjuncting Neptune. We have the new moon in Sagittarius, and we have Mercury going direct. So this is going to be quite a lot for you guys because there's a lot happening here. So Mars is going to hit Neptune where we were talking about kind of integrating and really feeling out the way that you need to change your behavior with relationships and change the way that you go about them, change the way, where are your boundaries, where are you cutting people off, where are you wanting to bring people in, how can you interact in a healthier way. Mars is going to hit Neptune where this has been a very foggy and unclear area. Mars hitting Neptune is going to be like, okay, the fog's kind of lifted, you understand what needs to be cut, what needs to be, severed away, and really where to establish yourself in relationships, and especially where your boundaries are, what you're wanting to pursue. And as Mars hits Neptune, where that duality I really think is going to kick in, I think you're going to be like, okay, this is what's going to work and this is what doesn't work. This is the way that I have to go about it, not this way anymore. And it's going to rely more and more on your intuition. It's going to rely more on you believing in something bigger. And, even though you're going to be establishing boundaries, I think this is about understanding where those boundaries are. So anyway, we also have this new moon in Sagittarius where, when we were talking about earlier with the Sun and Mars square, this is kind of like, if you want to recenter yourself on these bigger opportunities, these bigger beliefs, kind of opening and expanding your world, Mars is going to have to make you, you know, work different relationships. Well, this new moon in Sagittarius is in your 4th house of where you center yourself, your home life, your family life, your private life. And this new moon is really clearing out that energy. Jupiter is going to be right there where Jupiter wants to bring a lot more presence. He wants to expand your world and make things nicer. I think this new moon is kind of clearing out the area and letting Jupiter bring his, you know, good energy in for you guys to expand on that. So this new moon is giving you guys the opportunity to make that change, to make that switch, and to really set those intentions of what do you believe, and centering yourself on these bigger beliefs, on these more positive ideas. So as Mars hits Neptune, I think this is when it's going to become very clear about what that means for your relationship with other people. However, Mercury also goes direct on that day in Scorpio. And Scorpio is in your 3rd house of how you utilize yourself, your communication, you know, how you express things. So as Mercury goes direct in Scorpio, I think you're going to become very raw and real and serious about the way that you come across, especially in terms of communication. However, I think this is also going to be where you're more precise, you're more dialed in, and you have a very more narrow and specific scope of things and how it's supposed to look, what it's supposed to mean, how you're going to go about it and actually do it. Because even though there's this new moon in Sag where it's clearing up all the energy, Mars and Neptune are kind of making you, you know, make bigger decisions. The Mercury in Scorpio going direct is going to help you become very clear about what that next step is and really the mindset to go about it to really get the most out of it. So then after that, we have 2 days off. Chiron goes direct in Pisces. Not a big deal for you guys, really. It is going to go direct in your 7th house, so it's kind of like there's going to be a little bit more of a healing, like being more progressed in the terms of relationships. I think it's going to be a little bit more subtle and a little bit more personal and intimate, or you may deal with someone that kind of goes through a healing themselves. But other than that, it's not really the biggest thing in the world. After that, though, we do have Mercury going back into Sagittarius, where now that Mercury was direct in Scorpio, he knows exactly where he wants to go. He knows exactly what he wants to do. Mercury is clear. Mercury is direct. As he goes back into Sagittarius, I think this is going to get, you know, recentering yourself in these new beliefs, recentering yourself in these new ideas, in this new world of, you know, where what's the mindset your like what's the word I'm looking for? Like your preset mindset. Like, what is the standard on it? What are you thinking about? What are you centering yourself in? Where are you wanting to expand and where are you wanting to explore? And Mercury's still in shadow. He's been over this part before, but I do think Mercury's going to have a lot more opportunity and a lot more positivity going into this, because now he's a lot more clear. Now he's not a lot more direct with where he wants to go and what he wants to believe and what he wants to center himself on. So that's going to be good. After that, about 5 days later, on December 17th, Venus is going to leave shadow. So as Venus leaves shadow and she's still in your 3rd house, again, this is new territory for her. She's been in shadow where she's been over this before, but now she's really on her own. And she's really got to remain strong with what she got while she was in Libra. And so as Venus goes through Scorpio, I think this is the time to kind of go, okay, you know, you can't really, like, you're moving on, you're on your own now. It really is about how much can you really hold on to the idea and really trust and believe in yourself, in that sense of putting this new action out there, putting yourself out there in a way that you haven't done before, being specific about doing things the way that you want to and not necessarily holding on to things that aren't working for you anymore. Venus and Scorpio in your 3rd house is about, you know, realize what the fuck you have as far as value goes and actually utilize it. Like, put it to the test, do it, and you can't be scared. And that's the thing with Venus and Scorpio, is that she's not gonna be scared. It's because she's on a mission. She's on a hell-bent, you know, she's ready to go. And she's gonna go later on into Sagittarius, and she's gonna conjunct Jupiter, where everything's gonna be fine. But while she's in Scorpio, it's gonna be intimidating, but you just gotta be raw and real. You just gotta put that pedal to the metal and not be scared about it. So then, after that, a couple days later, we have Venus trining Neptune, where I think where Neptune's in not Sagittarius, it's not the 80s, as Neptune is in Pisces and Venus trines Neptune, I think this is going to give you a lot more sense of clarity of who to connect yourself with. I think you being a little bit more, you know, on that pursuit of, you know, utilizing that value and putting yourself out there that way is going to kind of line you up with a certain person at the right place at the right time that kind of helps you push yourself forward in that way. So that'll be pretty cool. But after that, the next day on the 21st, we have the Mercury and Jupiter conjunction, where now that Mercury is in Sagittarius and he hits Jupiter, I think this is going to give you that positive mindset, that positive understanding that you're really looking for to center yourself on. I think this is going to be really good news coming from home, coming from your family, something like that. And I think this is going to be a great thing to really center yourself on when it comes to experiences of positivity, knowing that these messages can come in, knowing that you can ground yourself on this, and knowing that there is a bigger picture that is being played out. And I do think this Mercury conjunct Jupiter will be a bigger deal for you guys. But the next day, this is our third big day of December, we have the sun going into Capricorn, we have the moon going into Cancer, we have the full moon in Cancer happening, and then we have the Saturn-Pluto conjunction beginning. And this is a big deal because even though it's I'm giving it a 10-degree orb, Saturn's going to start flying forward and he's going to hit Pluto really soon. And as he hits that 10-degree mark where they're basically in each other's like neighborhood now, I think that's going to put a very serious undertone under this full moon. So as the sun goes into Cancer, it goes into your 5th house, where we are talking about creation. We're talking about art, music, kids, sex. The 5th house is all the fun things that you want to express, all the, very Venusian type stuff. However, as the sun goes into there, where this theme is going to be kind of like more of the light, Saturn and Pluto make their conjunction right there. I think this is going to really call for you guys to understand that in order to make all of this change and center yourself on these new beliefs and change the way that you work with relationships and put yourself and be more direct about what it is that you want and kind of actually going for it, I think the sun in Capricorn with the Saturn-Pluto conjunction is going to make you be like really real about like, if this is what you want to do, you have to completely change and reframe the structure that you've built around the things that you want and the things that you desire. And as the moon goes into Cancer and it goes into your 11th house, I think this is going to be about understanding what you need from other people, where you need to, receive and be nurtured with groups of people. Like, I think this is going to be a time for you to reach out and connect to any type of network or groups of friends that can help you to where you need to go. And that is going to be a lot of restructuring and reframing, what it is that you kind of want to pursue and what you want to create. That's that Neptune and Capricorn stuff. But I do believe this full moon in Cancer in your 11th house is going to kind of be like, hey, maybe you need to reach out to people. Maybe you need to connect to more people. Show and give to other people what you want to give. Be that nurturer and let other people be that nurturing, benefactor in your life as well. So I think that is going to be a huge, huge deal for you guys as you learn to open up and you want to make these changes that are going on. So then after that, on the 24th, on Christmas Eve, Mercury is going to leave shadow and it's going to square Neptune again. And this is going to be, Mercury and Jupiter made that conjunction. Good things happen, but as Mercury moves forward, it's still going to be unclear about what moving forward looks like. That fog's going to set in again. And even though you know that the trail has an end now, you just can't see too much farther in front of you than, what's in front of you. So you can't get overwhelmed with the sense of confusion, and you have to really hold on to what Mercury and Jupiter gave you. Because as you move forward on this path and things start to become confusing again, and Mercury leaves shadow, he's back in Sagittarius in his detriment, he's still kind of going on and on and on. Don't, take one step at a time and realize that you're learning through this process and you're discovering through this process, and that you have it's not about the destination and it's about the journey. And I think that's going to be really, really key advice for you guys for Mercury leaving shadow. Then after that, Mars hits Chiron in your 7th house. Whoop whoop, I guess. Because as Mars goes through your 7th house and, finding the problems, seeing what needs to be addressed, seeing the issues, and learning how to wow, I can't believe I'm stumbling on my words. I know this is probably bothering you guys so much. But kind of like reinventing the way that you kind of work in relationships. As Mars hits Chiron, where Chiron is that deep healer, Chiron is now starting to leave Pisces, and he's not going to be there for a while. I think this is going to give you that sense of healing of like, yeah, there was some issues, there were some problems, but now I'm a lot more clear, and I'm ready to move forward into this change, and it's going to give you that sense of like more of a spiritual healing than I think you guys weren't necessarily expecting. So after that, man, on New Year's Eve, the sun's going to hit Saturn and Mars is going to go into Aries, and we're off to a crazy new year of 2019, and then 2020 is crazy too. So I guess to wrap everything up, I think December is going to be kind of big for you guys, and it is going to be that more of that actual physical shift of actually making the changes and implementing them in your life a little bit more than I wouldn't say that you're used to, but it's not going to be so much mental this month as it is going to be actual physical and movement and making those changes. So I do think that this month's going to be really big for you guys as long as you're willing to take it in a big way. Don't play small. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing, and I'll be seeing you guys next month.